Healthcare. Who is paying for healthcare? Do you have enough for it? How much are you paying? Do you know what's going on? Truly, at the end of the day. What's going on, Brendan, guys? We have a super interesting thing here, and I have a company to recommend. And I've seen the CEO speak numerous times. I do not use them yet, but I will be using them probably this time next year, probably even sooner. But just because of the insurance we're on, the crowd sharing we're on now, and then having kids, things like that. So certain time limits have to be done up with the care. Not to go down that road, but again, it's a simple thing, but it's just because of the timeline. So anyway, this is a really fascinating article, Bitcoin Magazine, about healthcare and it going bankrupt, which you've talked about many times. Healthcare, Medicaid, everything, Medicare going bankrupt. And this is something that the average person, the affordable healthcare, all that was rammed down our throats 12, 13 years ago, and it was supposed to make life cheaper. And anytime government says anything, we know it's exactly the opposite, right? It's a good rule of thumb. So affordable healthcare, we know it was going to make things a lot less affordable. And that's exactly what happened. Me, it's a great story. I had healthcare, it was about $100 a month, and as of about a year ago, I was paying $1,100 a month. And it was having a deductible of about 14 grand a year for my entire family. And again, I was a single person paying $100 a month 10 years ago or 12 years ago, and the deductible was like $500 a year. So yeah, there's part of that. And obviously inflation, which we know Bitcoin fixes that. So there are problems there that can be fixed. And again, I have a bigger family now and stuff like that. The fact though, I would have to every year figure out what was going on though, and got kicked off my insurance numerous times because of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and socializing all the losses, all of the medicine, socializing everything, socialized medicine. And then a few years ago, got repealed some of the things like the mandates and all that. But again, when you have such a broken healthcare system, things like this, when you see your doctor, you don't know how much you will spend. But again, that's kind of odd. Where else do we do that? Do we go to the restaurant and say, you know what, give me whatever, and then bring me the bill later on? No, we don't. But again, when you go to the office, the doctor's office, you hand over your health insurance, and then you have a copay, and then you have your deductible, obviously, and then not many people know how that functions, though. Again, after services are rendered, your doctor's office will send a claim to your health insurance company to be paid out. Once the claim has been paid out, you must pay the rest if there's a balance. Typically, this happens months later, and by this point, you may not have money to pay off the balance. And the crazy part is, again, we have paid cash now for a little while because we got rid of these crazy plans that were just not even doing anything. So we actually have got better treatment and paid less, 10, 20, often 30% less a lot of times, because doctors' offices don't want to even deal with all of the insurance and all the stuff. So we actually get better deals paying cash up front and then having maybe some type of catastrophic plan. Heck, you can crowdfund go to a crowdfunding site and raise money if you needed to, if you actually had something really bad happen. So there are ways around this, obviously, but there are crowd sharing places now that we're on now, and I have one to show you, which I'm not on yet. I don't get paid by them, nothing, but they use Bitcoin as well, which I'll talk about in a second here. But this is crazy. One of the things, though, too, again, older age in life, the biggest thing that people go bankrupt by, especially women too, when if their husbands die, is healthcare. It's healthcare costs, and it's the unaffordability. So you're paying into these premiums that the insurance providers should be negotiating good prices for you. They're terrible prices, and they know, well, everyone's got to be in the system, especially when the mandates were in. So of course the prices can go up, just like loans at school. Of course tuition is going to go up because everyone's everyone's got loans. Everyone can afford it. So what happens when there's more demand for something and there's less supply? Well, now we've got to raise prices. This is just typical supply and demand economics here. But unfortunately, again, our politicians don't understand that. None of us here in the country understand that. So we keep voting for things, trying to have our cake and eat it too. Again, in 2021 alone, 20% of Americans had medical debt. It's got to be more than that. And 58% of bills in collection were for medical debt. And again, the number one thing for older age, it's not in this article, but for older age is, in bankruptcy especially, is medical debt. And that is such a massive problem. Why is that? It's because the system is broken. So how do we get around that? Yes, Bitcoin will fix this, and Bitcoin will fix that long term. That's what the second half of, I believe this is Robert Hall. That's what he talks about, how Bitcoin, Robert Hall talking about how Bitcoin will, just in general, a lot of things we talk about, how it will fix the economy, and it'll give people more purchasing power to then afford their own healthcare. However, in the interim, though, there's a bridge we got to cross, obviously, getting from here to hyper-Bitcoinization. So what are the answers? But first, before we go into that, again, the typical American family spends $22,000 plus on health insurance every year. That was pretty much us, basically, each year, and for a handful of years until I finally got rid of it and said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is absolutely insane. our family's healthy, we take care of ourselves. Why am I paying for this? I just need catastrophic care, or I'll crowdfund it, I'll crowd raise. If I would have been buying Bitcoin with the $1,200 a month I was paying in premiums and the deductible each year, or whatever it was, I'd be, I'd have tens of millions of dollars if I would have been paying that the last 7 years into Bitcoin. Alas, now we have an answer with a Bitcoin company doing crowdfunding here in a moment. Medicare is projected to be insolvent by the year 2026. Again, we've done these videos, we've done the blogs on this about when these are going to be insolvent, the entitlements, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all these are going to be bankrupt. The pensions are going bankrupt all in the next 10 years. So what's going to happen? How is that going to happen? 63 million seniors are disabled, or 63 million seniors are there and disabled Americans. How is this going to be paid for? Well, it's going to be paid through bailouts, which we just saw in the last 2 years. After Biden got elected, they started bailing out, I believe it was the Illinois pension funds. They're going to bail it out, meaning more inflation. So they're going to pay it out by socializing the losses and having everyone pay higher prices for everything in the economy, because they're debasing the currency, debasing the dollars we have in our hand to pay off all these things. So you're still going to get the $2,000 a month you're owed. It's just now your bread's going to cost $100 a loaf and your gas is going to be $50 a gallon, that type of thing. We're going to go that route because it's the easy way to kick the can down the road. As of 2021, growth in Medicare spending had averaged almost 8% for the previous 5 years. It will not be slowing down anytime soon. So again, here we have, as we've showed many times, here's the Medicare. So here's Medicare, Medicaid, largest budget items, 1.5 trillion a year. So when you look at the federal spending, we have 6 trillion in spending. Well, 1.5 trillion of that is going to Medicare and Medicaid. 1.25 trillion is going to Social Security, and going to be 800 trillion or 800 billion very soon to defense and war spending. So, and here's the interest, which is going to balloon as rates have gone up as well. So this is where we have the federal deficit, or federal spending, I'm sorry, being $6 trillion, and the deficit, we only get the tax receipts right here of 4.6 trillion a year coming in. That's going to be lower, obviously, coming this year because, again, all the prices of all assets are down, so capital gains are non-existent. So this is going to be way down. So this budget is going to be even bigger. This budget deficit, I should say, is going to be even bigger. What, 2 trillion, 2.5 trillion? That will have to be covered by, you guessed it, more spending. So eventually this is why rates will end up coming back down, because they have to keep printing currency through the Fed to pay off these things. And eventually that will turn. But we know long term the government can't sustain higher interest rates because they can't afford the interest on this debt. So let's do the math really quickly, actually, because I don't think we've done that before here. So if we have, let's see, 31 trillion, we'll just say 31 trillion. So that's what, 310 billion. So 31 trillion times, just say 10%. Volcker brought us some 20% interest rates, but just at 5% interest rates, like we're dang close to now, that is what, it's $1.5 trillion. So $1.5 trillion in interest. So right now, what do we say we have? 5? It would be 3x our interest payments. $1.5 trillion in interest if we're at a 5% interest rate. Think about that. So we're at the highest expense item we have is Medicare, Medicaid. You'd be paying that just in interest alone. Adding another trillion there, so the budget deficit automatically is going to 2.3 trillion. Just say it was 10%. Just say, we had to get to 20%, just like Volcker did last time, because we know inflation is really, like we do at Shadow Stats, it's really about 15% right now, just like it was under Volcker 40 years ago. So he raised it to 20 to crush inflation. Just say it was 20. What would happen if it was at 20? So we had 5 here, so we'll multiply this by 4 to see what it would be if we did the same thing last. 6.2. It'd be larger than the entire federal deficit. 6.2 trillion. Sorry, not the deficit. I can't talk. The federal spending is not even 6 trillion yet. It's almost 6 trillion. The interest alone at 20% interest rates would be $6.2 trillion on interest. So this right here, this interest on the debt, would be almost $6 trillion higher. Absolute collapse. So again, this is why I talk about Bitcoin so much. This is why there are so many problems that are here and that Bitcoin fixes. We didn't have this solution before. Before it was just like try to hope you vote in the right people, educate people on like gold and silver, and like hopefully we go back to that, and hopefully it doesn't destroy itself within 30 years like it did before, from the 30s up till 1970, Bretton Woods to 71, and we had to go off of it because it got centralized and they started printing out too many claim checks. So what's the answer to this in the interim on our level? Crossing the bridge from where we are now, the fiat world, the fiat economy, to the hyper Bitcoinized economy. Well, the answer, you may ask, is CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth, again, I have not used it yet, but this is what I'm going to be using. The coolest part about this, transparent pricing, funding, everything, yada, yada, yada. But the coolest part is that they have a Bitcoin, oh boy, I don't even know what you call it now. A Bitcoin version of this, I guess, is probably the best way to say it. I don't know how you get to it from in here, so we'll see. Actually, we'll go to Crowd. Okay, here's the Bitcoin version. Join crowdhealth.com/Bitcoin. And the coolest part is, again, your premiums, again, always your premiums, like you just use them or you get paid and like nothing happens. However, here you have the ability to, if you didn't use all of your premiums, you didn't have to, they say that about 25 to 30% of the premium each month gets used to crowd fund other people's issues. So the part that you don't fund, you get to save in your own account. You can do it in fiat or you can do it in Bitcoin. If you're already buying Bitcoin like you should be, dollar cost averaging every day, every week, or every month, you already do this. So you can literally transfer your healthcare into a cheaper, much cheaper, as you saw here, a much cheaper cost right here. And this is, yeah, Family's 48. So again, like mine will be in here at $700 a month, but I'm already paying $500+ a month. And then that like $300 a month, because like with their administrative costs and things like that, it probably ends up being like $200 to $300 a month you have to pay regardless. But that extra $300 a month in there, that arbitrage, I get to now save that. And you can save it and build up your own fiat account in the normal site, you saw that, or you can build it up in Bitcoin. And they work with Swan Bitcoin, which again, I don't get any money from either. I love Swan Bitcoin though, unbelievable Bitcoin only company, Bitcoin education. You get to have your own brokerage account there, and you fund and buy Bitcoin with your premium. So you literally are gaining wealth as Bitcoin goes up in value over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Your $300 a month or $100 a month, whatever it is, starts accruing and building more value over time. And you can take that with you. You can take that out. You can take it with you if you transfer to somewhere else and want to go somewhere else. So you can have, again, we won't get into price estimations, but you see where I'm going with this. You would now have the ability to use some of that premium that you never touched and it was just building and accruing value in an asset that is mathematically going to keep going up and to the right. So I should say this way. So again, this is not financial advice. This is freedom advice. This is all this is, and a better way to do something in a broken system. So if you got something out of this, again, I can go about this forever. We'll do more about this probably, I don't know, maybe soon, but also maybe in the future, maybe the next year when I really get into this and see how it exactly works, and we'll break it down. But this is, boy, what a different world. Now, instead of my bill being $500, $550 a month, it'll be $300 a month or so, and then the other $300 I'm spending, I get to just transfer that into Bitcoin. So, or $300 or $400 or whatever it is, $300, no, $100 in fees, sorry, $300 in Bitcoin, and then $300 premium a cost. And my math is off. I'm trying to think of what it is. But anyway, $300 in premiums and $350 in premiums, about $350 in Bitcoin. So again, if you're already doing that anyway in Bitcoin, you get to save in Bitcoin now, and instead of just that going out the window, that $500 or $600, $700 going out the window in premiums, you can now stack Bitcoin and stack an asset and actually use that premium that was just going out the window before. So anyway, appreciate your time, your energy. It's the most important asset we have. Just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is time and time is Bitcoin. If you got something out of this, please like and subscribe to this channel. Please share it with someone you think might get something out of this. This is such an important thing, I think, and to lower people's healthcare costs and cross that bridge from fiat standard to the Bitcoin standard. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.